up? It's Jan back at it again with another nerdy bookish video. This is gonna be my October wrap up. So wrap-ups mean the handy dandy stitch mug is making a cameo. All right, we have rings on now. Sorry, I'm annoying, but it literally feels naked without them. Okay, so this is my October wrap-up. If you didn't know, if you're new here, I do my wrap-ups in the form of the reread, rewrite, burn tag, which is basically fuck, marry, kill, but make it bookish. I have all the book titles on little slips of paper in here, and then I pull them out 3 at a time, and I give my thoughts on them and say whether I'd reread, rewrite, or burn them. I've been doing this for almost 2 years now. Come January, it'll be 2 years. That's insane, and I love it. And I always start my wrap-ups off with a little recap. This is like the best reading month I've ever had. I think the only ones that came close were January and February of last year, where I read like over 20 books. So I read 25 books this month. To be fair, some of them were graphic novels, a couple of them were audiobooks. Bear that in mind. I am not Superwoman, but a book's a book's a book. Am I right? I do keep track of pages I read every day because I try to read 100 pages a day, and I've been really bad at it lately, but I balance it out with some days that I read like a manga where it's like 400 pages in a day mixed with like some of the novel, you know? Number of pages I read in October is 5,131. The best book I read, I always forget to grab books for these. I'll just grab them as I go, per usual. But this one's a library book anyway. The best book I read in October, surprisingly, was What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. This is a novella, and this was my first T. Kingfisher book, and the reason I read it was because my upcoming book club pick is also by T. Kingfisher. It's Nettle and Bone, and the live show is on November 9th. I don't know when this is gonna go up, hopefully before then, but we'll see. And I loved it. I gave it 5 stars. I read it in like 2 sittings. I finished it early morning on Halloween because I knew I had plans that night, so I wanted to just get that as my last book of the month, and surprisingly really loved it. I will say that if I hadn't read The Fall of the House of Usher, which is what it's based on, it's a retelling of that short story by Edgar Allan Poe. If I didn't read that the night before, I wouldn't love it as much. I'd be highly confused probably. Not highly confused, just like it just wouldn't hit the same way that it did in my personal opinion. And I've seen, I think, like a review or two that said that it doesn't feel like a retelling necessarily. It feels more of like an expansion of the short story, as though like T. Kingfisher just took the short story and made it longer. That's what an expansion means. Oh my god, Jan. And it was really good, and it genuinely creeped me out reading it on Halloween Eve night. There's sleepwalking in there, there's creepy smiles, and those 2 things get to me. And reading them at night while I was home alone was just a lot, but I love that. I love when books scare me, as long as it doesn't fuck with my mental health. Yeah, that was like a tasteful amount of creep factor, and I love the writing, and the chapters were short, and it was a novella, so it went super quickly, and T. Kingfisher managed to pack a lot in just over 100 pages. So absolutely do recommend that book. It is so descriptive in like nature, fungus descriptions. I think there's some gore in there. Yeah, like bodily things. They do a really good job with describing and using language to like convey exactly what they're trying to convey. The worst book of the month was an audiobook, and it was a middle grade, and it was Ghost Squad by, is it Claribel Ortega? I don't even really remember, but I haven't heard too many good things about this book, but I picked it up for Bookathon, the spooky middle grade readathon hosted by Gwen, Keisha, and Gabby, and I'll have their channels linked down below. But I read this for that, for the prompt, read a book with ghost in the title, and I feel like a lot of people that week read this book, and a lot of people felt the same way as I did. I gave this book 1 star. I've been so ruthless this year with my 1 and 2 stars. I've just like lost patience as a reader. I feel like I don't feel bad anymore. I just go with my gut feeling when I'm rating books, and I've only ever changed my rating on Goodreads once, and that was for The Sanatorium a couple months ago. I bumped it up 1 extra star when I thought about it more, but other than that, I don't change my ratings. I just go with my gut feeling, because I have learned in reading and in life that trusting your instincts is the best way to go. So gave this 1 star. I could not for the life of me stay focused on this audiobook. Granted, I was was at work listening to it for the most part, so I was like slightly distracted, but at the same time, you could have kept my attention just a tad, you know? I know it's a middle grade, I know I'm not the target audience, but everyone is saying it's very, very juvenile. Like it's almost like elementary school level, I feel like. Like I've read middle grades that are more like sophisticated, well-developed stories, you know, and like have like deeper undertones and messages and things like that. Yeah, this didn't have any of that. Jordan from Sorry Book Solid described it as like Scooby-Doo. So like if you're into that, then fine, read this book. But it was just like not, like I like Scooby-Doo, but I don't like that in like book form. I feel like it was honestly kind of a waste of time, so I'm glad I was at work and getting paid while reading this book. They just like dressed up, had these matching jackets to like hunt down this ghost, and I couldn't tell you much else about it. I just know I hated it, all of it. But I will give this author another chance because I heard that their other book, The Witchlings, is super cute, and y'all know me and witchy books. I'll give it a shot. I'll give it a second chance. I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. We shall see. The number of BIPOC authors I read out of 25 was 8, which is embarrassing. I already have a lot of books planned for my November TBR that are by BIPOC authors, so hopefully I redeem myself there. Books left on my TBR, out of 16, I read half of them. I did not really care about my TBR for October. I was just like, I'm reading what I want. It's spooky season. Here's my TBR. I may not get to it. That's why I have so many carryovers for November. I did read a classic this month. It wasn't a full book. It was a short story. It was The Fall of the House of Usher, but I counted that as a book because there are editions where it's like in a, you know, is it Penguin Classic in a book form? But I read it from my classic, let me grab it. I read it from this story collection that Joey got me for my birthday, Classic Tales of Horror, and it has gold edges and it's just gorgeous. I knew I wanted to read What Moves the Dead because it was Sid from Sid Bookworm's book club pick for her Patreon, but I wanted to read The Fall of the House of Usher and I was like, maybe this book has it, and it did. Look at these pages, I can't. I'm glad I was able to put this to use. There are other stories I'm definitely interested in, like The Turn of the Screws in here, The Metamorphoses. It's only my second classic of the year. Next year, I'm trying to read at least 5, so we'll see. Reading 1 a month was a long shot, for sure. That was one of my goals for this year, LOL. Buzzword-a-thon. I wasn't planning on participating, but I did. The buzzword was like animal or creature, and the Buzzword-a-thon is hosted by Kayla from Books and Lala, if you didn't know, and basically she picks words or phrases or categories, whatever, and you read books with that in the title. And I read Will My Cat Eat My Eyeballs by Caitlin Jodie, and this was a nonfiction book that I got from the library. I have been keeping up with my one nonfiction a month, so that's exciting. I really love this one. I gave it 5 stars. I listened to it on audio, and I have come to realize that I enjoy audiobooks if they're nonfiction. Fiction audiobooks are very rare for me to give higher than 3 stars. So fun fact about Jan Agaton, I really enjoyed this. This is by a mortician who's also a YouTuber, and she's hilarious. She narrated the book and she has a great voice. She executes jokes well. Her humor is stellar. She answers all these questions that kids have asked at her like events and stuff and like funeral homes. It's very informative about death and corpses and what happens to bodies after death, things like that, and it was so fascinating. I was supposed to read it in September, but I ended up pushing it, thankfully, because in September, y'all know, I had a couple family deaths, and one was my beloved dog Candy, and this book did talk a lot about dog deaths, so it was good. It all happened for a reason. The universe had my back for that one. All right, moving on to the actual wrap up. Let's get 3 out of here. I'm getting hungry. I gotta go to my mom's for dinner after this because they're making steak and I'm starving. I really need to stop eating red meat again because that really helped with like how I felt about it. Anyway, The Girl from the Other Side Volume 1. This is a manga that I got from the library. Then we have The Last House on Needless Street by Katrina Ward, and then The Undead Truth of Us by Brittany S. Lewis. I would reread The Last House on Needless Street. I buddy read this with Joey, my boyfriend, if you didn't know, as well as my patrons, because hello, I have a Patreon now. It's vampire themed. It's called The Lair. All the links are always down below. If the bloodlust is calling to you at this very moment, I would love for you to join. Feel free to click that link. We have so much fun over there. We have a bunch of spontaneous buddy reads, my full moon book club that we talk about in the Discord. We talk about Taylor Swift, coffee, pets, spooky things, the books we're reading, the books we're hauling. It's such a fun time. So we buddy read this, and I'll link this vlog down below as well. I absolutely love this. This I almost also changed my rating rating to 5 stars, but I'm keeping it at 4 because it is very, very confusing. Like, go into this book knowing you'll be confused and you won't DNF it. Because I know a lot of people have DNF'd this because it's so like, what the hell is going on? You read from a perspective of a cat for some chapters. The title is so deceiving because you think it's like about this haunted house, right? It's totally not. It's almost a character study, but like, make it fucking creepy. It's a horror, thrillery, suspenseful story about this missing girl, and then you get this perspective from this guy who just has something off about him. The reveals throughout the book are so well done. I did guess a main twist, I will say, but that did not deter me from thoroughly enjoying this book. It just drags for some parts. Joey said it dragged for him until like 190 to 200 pages in, which is a lot, I know it sounds like, but the build up, it's worth it, I promise. So yeah, I'm glad I finally got to this one. I will definitely be reading more by this author, and I would reread this again because I feel like there are Easter eggs dropped throughout that I could possibly have missed. I really liked the mental health rep in this and how it all came together at the end and all the connections between the characters. Loved it. Highly recommend. I would rewrite The Undead Truth of Us for it to actually have legit zombies, because that's what I thought going into this. But thank the universe for one of my subscribers who was in the chat for one of my live shows, said don't expect like actual zombies. It's all metaphorical. It's more of her like discovering things about herself and her past and people in general. You don't find out why she's seeing these zombies until like almost 200 pages in, I think. I could be wrong, but like way later than you want to. It's more of a like self-discovery, coming of age, love story, family thing. It's not zombies. Which is how it was pitched as to me. The writing was cheesy. Jesse sent this to me from Bow Ties and Books, and they thought I would love the writing. This book has all the elements for me to love it, right? Like this girl is obsessed with Starry Night, which is my favorite painting. Sunflowers, which is my favorite flower. The only flower I like. She listens to some of my favorite bands of all time, like The Used, and then also like Simple Plan and stuff. And then she also reads Looking for Alaska by John Green, which is one of my favorite books of all time. Like, that is the book that has shaped me to who I am. Like, not even exaggerating. That is a very special book. The fact that this had all of that and I still gave it 3 stars, highly disappointing. Spoiler alert, this is definitely going to be on my most disappointing books of 2022. And I feel so bad saying that because Jesse was so excited for me to read this. But yeah, it was just not what I was expecting. The character development, character growth was really good. She did have a moment where she stood up for herself, and it was a very powerful scene, and I enjoyed that part. But like the romance in it, I was just like, what the why this feels so like I'm getting the ick. Like, it feels, it's not like it's like creepy or anything, it's just like cringy, but not in a good way. All right, and then I would burn Girl from the Other Side Volume 1, which I gave 4 stars. So hear me out. It's super cute. Part of me really loves spooky cute books, and I went into it knowing it was spooky cute. I've seen it at work when I would walk by the manga shelves, but then Kat from Bambina Katarina read it for Vampathon, read one of the volumes for Vampathon, I think, I don't know, and she loved it and was raving about it. So I was like, okay, I'll try it, and it was really good. But you know, it's manga, there are so many out there. That's why I would burn it compared to these 2 books that were in the threesome, I don't know, what do you, the trilogy, the trio. Yep, that's the word. No tea, no shade towards the book itself. It's just relative to these other 2 books. It was really cute. It's about this girl who is under the care of this like demon creature, and as Kat said it, the juxtaposition between those 2 characters, so cute. It's so just like wholesome. I really liked both of their characters and how he looked out for her and everything, and she's super cute. So yeah, but I would burn it because of reasons I just said. All right, next 3. It's gonna be a long ass wrap up. I don't know where all this talking has come from, but here we are. Let me just put these back because I just cleaned my living room, and let me grab the other books. Okay, so we have The Weight of Blood by Tiffany D. Jackson, and then we have Cows by Matthew Stokoe, and Spy X Family Volume 1, which I got from the library. Cows I read on my Kindle. All right, I would reread The Weight of Blood for sure. This was my September book club pick. I read it in October because I forget everything. And Deja from Deja's Book World World and I had a really good discussion about it. I'll link that live show down below. This is a Carrie retelling. Again, I would highly recommend reading Carrie before reading this because you miss a lot of the Easter eggs from Carrie. I guess it's not like very necessary. I recommend it because it like enhances the reading experience, I feel like. They have segregated proms at this school, but racist things happen to this main character, and so the white kids are trying to redeem themselves by making it a combined prom this year, and then all hell breaks loose with all the privileged students, and it's just messed up in so many ways, but it's so freaking good. There are so many good discussions and social commentary, but trigger warnings for like blatant racism. Like there's blackface in here and everything like that, so it could be really triggering, and it's very powerful of a story. I feel like it's a very important read. I loved Kenny. He was my favorite character. He's such a cinnamon roll. I love the little romance in this, which I wasn't expecting to love as much. This has got to be my favorite Tiffany D. Jackson book. I've read almost all of her books. I still got to read Allegedly, but yeah, for now this is my favorite. She's a brilliant writer. You could tell that nothing that happened in this book was by accident. Like the fact that this is about racism and it's a Stephen King retelling, like that alone, I don't know. I heard about an interview where she said that she truly loves Carrie as a story, and that was like her first something, her favorite horror movie or something like that. But I mean, Stephen King has had some racist moments, so the fact that it's the irony, you know, the irony in writing a book that grapples with racism, that discusses racism, it's just brilliant. There are so many key moments in this. It goes by so quickly. I would highly recommend. Gave this 5 stars if you couldn't tell already. The other two I already forgot. Oh, Spy X Family and Cows. So Spy X Family Volume 1 I'll burn. This is another manga I got from the library. It's another cutesy one. I did enjoy Anya's character. She's the main like little girl. She has telepathic powers or telekinesis, something. No, Carrie has telekinesis. Maddy in The Weight of Blood has telekinesis. She is just telepathic. And then the dude's a spy, and then the mom, or not the mom, the woman in the family, quote unquote, is something else, but I forgot. Clearly, it wasn't my favorite thing. Everyone loves this series. I don't know. I'm still gonna continue it because it was cute and I want to see things with the characters unfold, but I would burn this because my hopes were too high. I feel like the hype was too much and it just let me down a little. I just didn't enjoy it as much as other people do. Sorry. Okay. Cows I read in one sitting with Joey on a Patreon live show that we now call Unmuted and Unhinged reading sprints, and they're basically sprints, but we just react whenever we feel like it. We're stayed unmuted and the chat just goes off whenever. I reply to them sometimes when I happen to look up. This was an extreme horror novella that we read in one sitting, and everyone on Patreon got my live reactions, and it was a super fun time. Like that was one of the highlights of October. I'm not even gonna lie. It was like a 5.5-hour live show. We all had so much fun. Joey and I even went on a freaking food run and everyone was just so there for it. Some people stayed the entire freaking time. Some people read Cows with us and was like gagging with us. That sounds weird, but it's a very fucked up book, but it's sentimental now. And when you look past all the fucked up, disgusting stuff, there is a very powerful underlying story to it and commentary. So trigger warnings for like everything, but like the underlying story, there's a lot of familial abuse, so definitely beware, tread with caution. Other than that, there are a lot of other trigger warnings as well. I was definitely triggered a lot, but I don't know if I would reread this, but I wouldn't burn it, so rewrite is the only option. I don't know how I would. Like, I wouldn't change anything about it because everything was fucked up for a reason. I mean, there was a super fucked up part at the end that was like my least favorite thing ever, like thing I despise the most. If you know, you know. So I feel like I wish I never read that, but also it was very entertaining for my patrons and for Joey to experience with me. So I don't know, but I guess for all intents and purposes, I'll say I would take that scene out at the end that involved birth. Okay, moving on. All right, so we have What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher, Over My Dead Body, which is a graphic novel I got from the library, and then Damn, I read a lot of library books. Doll Bones by Holly Black, which I read on audio. I would reread What Moves the Dead, obviously. Already had my rant about it. I would burn Doll Bones. I gave Doll Bones 2 stars. I really didn't enjoy the audiobook. Again, this is a middle grade. I read it for Bookathon, I think. Or no, I read it for Vampathon. It was just another short audiobook that I wanted to listen to at work, like mindlessly. And it wasn't as creepy as people told me it was gonna be. And I thought this doll was gonna be a lot more prominent throughout the story, but there was like this reveal with it and everything. All the love to Holly Black, but this was not for me. I did like it better than Ghost Squad, I will say, because the reveal that involved the doll was pretty creepy for a middle grade. Like, I feel like as a child reading this book, I would be creeped out. And then I would rewrite Over My Dead Body. I don't know how. It was just so good. I gave it 5 stars. It's one of my new favorite graphic novels. The art style is impeccable, like fucking phenomenal. I loved it. I felt all the autumn vibes. I read this while I had food poisoning, so it was like exactly what I needed to feel joy. I would rewrite this into a novel. Honestly, that's kind of cheating, but like seriously, this was such a good story. But then as a novel, there wouldn't be as many pictures at all. The colors were so vibrant and so autumnal. The witchiness in it is there. It's definitely Chilling Adventures of Sabrina vibes, which I love. I love that show. So if you're into that, it's witchy dark academia. So I would highly recommend this graphic novel. It'll take you like maybe an hour, maybe less. So those are my thoughts on that. Next 3. Okay, so we have The Kiss Curse by Erin Sterling. We have Small Spaces by Kathryn Arden, and then we have Coraline by Neil Gaiman. So I would definitely reread The Kiss Curse. I loved it. It was so good. I reread The X-Hex, which was the first book in this. Reread that this year. I think next year I'm gonna reread this one because I absolutely loved the romance in this, loved the chemistry between the characters, loved the witchiness, the small town vibes. It follows the cousin of the main female character in the X-Hex. The love interest moves to this small town and opens up like a witchy apothecary type of shop right across the street from her shop called Something Wicked. Then obviously there's like this rivalry thing, but then it's like they become, you know, lovers. The steamy scenes in this, I love them. They were so well done. I was squealing. I read this in a day and it was so much fun, and there's a talking cat and it's just so much serotonin in one freaking book. I absolutely loved it. 5 stars. I would read it again. Small Spaces, I would honestly reread too, but can't do that, so I would rewrite it. I gave this book 5 stars too. It's a middle grade. I read it for Bookathon for the prompt, read a book set during or around Halloween or something like that. I think there were a couple chapters where I kind of lost my interest, so I would rewrite those. I can't name exactly where or what was going on, but I'm just gonna leave it at that. But basically this girl named Ollie, short for Olivia, goes on this field trip with her class, her 6th grade class. The bus like breaks down and then there are all these like scary scarecrow creatures coming out of nowhere, and they try to like survive and get help, she along with 2 of her classmates. And it was a super cute story, and her dynamic with her dad was my favorite part about this story. This is so creepy for a middle grade. I would definitely be creeped out reading this as a child. I was creeped out reading it as a 25-year-old. I think that's all I'm gonna say about that. I'm definitely gonna be continuing with the series because I believe there are 4 now. And then the last one was Coraline by Neil Gaiman, and this was a reread for me. I read the, well, technically, because I read the graphic novel I think a year or 2 ago. This time I listened to it on audio, another short audiobook that I just wanted to listen to at work, and I really liked the audiobook, not gonna lie. I didn't like that there were like talking rats, and that was really creepy, so it did creep me out. I gave Coraline 3 stars. Neil Gaiman narrated it, so I love that. I love when the author narrates the book, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, so that definitely just enhances the story for me. It's not my favorite story in the world. I still have to read the Graveyard book by Neil Gaiman, which I feel like I'd enjoy more. I mean, if anything, I could consume Coraline's story in the form of the graphic novel if I wanted to, so. Alright, so first we have Don't Go to Sleep by Bryce Moore. Then we have Bingo Love. I forgot the author's name, I'm sorry, but this is a graphic novel that I got from the library. The same goes for Cryptid Club by Sarah Anderson. And this is also another graphic novel that I got from the library. I would reread Bingo Love. Absolutely love this book. It almost made me cry. It's a sapphic relationship, and you follow these 2 women from when they were kids all the way to when they're like in their grandma ages. It was so touching, it was so heartwarming. I highly recommend if you're looking for a sapphic book especially. I would rewrite Cryptid Club. I would just make it longer. I know a lot of it seems like cheating when I say I want to rewrite it, but I want to rewrite this to make it longer because Sarah Anderson's graphic novels, her puns are just A1, like unmatched. This follows a bunch of different paranormal creatures like Mothman, a ghost, Dracula's in there, Slender Man's in there, and it's just all puns the entire time, and I just want a whole like 1,000-page anthology of all her puns. This was great, gave it 5 stars. It was super cute. Yeah, I highly recommend Fangs as well by Sarah Anderson if you haven't read it already. And then Don't Go to Sleep. I would burn. It was good at the end, but only at the end. It dragged so much for me. I took so long to read this. I will be putting this up on my Pango. Bryce Moore's writing, I really liked The Perfect Place to Die, even though that was set in Chicago, but I liked like the true crime elements in that. This one also has true crime elements. It's set in Italy. No, it's not. It's set in New Orleans. I kept thinking it was set in Italy because it follows Italian families and Italian characters, because this serial killer, this axe murderer, targets Italian families who own grocery stores in New Orleans. I don't know, so specific, right? There are some action scenes at the end, but it was only at the end, and those were the good parts. I gave Don't Go to Sleep 3 stars. Yeah, it just dragged on, and the writing didn't really captivate me much, and I probably wouldn't have picked this up if I didn't read their first book. The biggest thing is that, like, I don't want to assume, but you can kind of really tell that Bryce Moore has some opinions about the pandemic and wearing masks and things like that just based on the writing. So take that as you will. Next 3, The Fall of the House of Usher by Edgar Allan Poe. We have Belladonna by Adeline Grace. And then we also have Will My Cat Eat My Eyeballs, which I already talked about. Oh god, okay. This is kind of difficult, actually. I would reread The Fall of the House of Usher. It's classic, it's creepy, it's short. I would reread it. And I think I would get more and more out of it if I took the writing in more and like read it slower and things like that. It's like 15 pages in this book, and like it's top to bottom text, so I don't know what that is in regular pages, but yeah, so super short. It's not very digestible, but it's more digestible than a lot of classics I've read. So yeah, I would reread that. And I gave The Fall of the House of Usher 4 stars, by the way. I don't remember if I said that in the beginning. And then we have, I don't know. How would you rewrite a nonfiction like that though for Will My Cat Eat My Eyeballs? Okay, for all intents and purposes, I would burn Will My Cat Eat My Eyeballs because I know she has written other books, and I would read those books before rereading this one. And I feel like I did get a lot out of it, and a lot of the facts did stick with me. So I'm just gonna leave it at burning that one, because I could burn this one because it dragged so much, but I think rewriting it would be more polite. No, but okay, I gave it 3 stars. This was so disappointing. I had such high hopes for this one. Everyone fucking loves this book, and there's something missing. Jodie from Vanilla Moon and I were talking about it, and yeah, there's just something missing. It's lucky that it's such a gorgeous fucking edition, because I would have been so sick of looking at it. I was still so sick of looking at it because it took me like a whole fucking week to read. Probably longer than that because I soft DNF'd it for a little bit, or not soft DNF, just put it down so I could read it for Vampathon. Basically, you have a character that is the personified version of death, which is such a great concept to me. I love that, but it was so disappointing. And it was just so melodramatic every time he spoke romantically. So it is a fantasy romance, and then there are these poison berries, and there's this like murder mystery throughout involving these poison berries, and she can summon the death character by eating these poison berries. There's this like Christmas ball. The things that the dialogue during the romantic scenes, the things that they were saying were cute, but I was just annoyed by it in this particular book. I don't know how to explain it. It just dragged, felt like I was reading it forever. I didn't really enjoy it, but it was all right. Couldn't even tell you what I liked about it, to be honest. Oh, the end, the characters had to make these decisions, and it kind of tugged at my heartstrings a little bit. I remember now. It's coming back to me. But yeah, it was just a disappointment. So I would rewrite it to be more heavy on the romance than the murder mystery, because I feel like that's what a lot of people are expecting anyway. I don't know if I'm gonna pick up the sequel. I probably won't. I think that's what I concluded after reading this in my vlog, but I'll have that vlog linked down below. That's unfortunate. I gotta add this to my most disappointing of 2022. to be honest. I have 17 books on here already, lol. Wow, I'm getting hungry. God, this is so much footage, for what? So we have Lake's Edge by Lyndall Clipstone, The Beast by Katie Robert, and what's the other one? Ghost Squad. Burn Ghost Squad. Burn Ghost Squad, already talked about it, not a fan. I would burn The Beast too, but I think I would just rewrite it to not be the same ending as the second one and to have more of a plot. Like, I know a lot of Katie Roberts books are like all smut, no plot type thing, but the first few Wicked Villains, this is part of the Wicked Villains series if you didn't know, and this is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, but make it smutty. They have some sort of plot and they have like this quick action scene at the end, but this one did nothing for me and it dragged, and I soft DNF'd it a couple months ago, but I just finished it for Stabathon, which I hosted with Cami, Sav, Deja, and Erin. I'll have their channels linked down below. And I would reread Lake's Edge because it was a fun time. I really liked the atmospheric writing. It wasn't too heavy on the romance as I expected, but it had all the gothic vibes. It had a strong sibling dynamic. There were some parts where I was like, okay, this is kind of dragging. I don't really care anymore, but I was still here for it because of the vibes. I will definitely be continuing with the series. I have the sequel already called Forest Fall, so I will definitely be reading that probably early next year. Love that. Gave that one 4 stars, and I gave The Beast 2 stars. This was 2 stars for me. This was my least favorite of the Wicked Villains so far. My favorite one so far was the one before this, A Worthy Opponent. Wait, Joey just texted me that Aaron Carter died. What? Sorry, Joey, I'll text you back after this video. Oh my god, okay. The steak is ready, and my stepdad made mashed potatoes, so I need to finish this video off quickly. The Last Final Girl by Stephen Graham Jones, Below Zero by Ali Hazelwood, and A Dance with the Fae Prince by Elise Kova. So the first 2 were audiobooks, and then the third one is on my Kindle. I would reread A Dance with the Fae Prince. I really enjoyed this one. I gave this one 4 stars. This is the second book in the Married to Magic series. I think that's what it's called. And I love the feeling of reading it on my Kindle again. I really like the self-love, self-acceptance topics discussed throughout the book. My gripe with Fae books is usually just the repetition of the fact that Fae can't lie, and that applies to this book as well, because like we get it, you know. I really enjoyed the romance in this. I liked the discussions on like familial issues. I think it was a pretty straightforward book, and yeah, my favorite part was her like discovering things about herself and accepting who she is and acting on it. If you're into those types of books, I would highly recommend this. They are in a series, but they can be read as standalones. I'll definitely be continuing with the series with a duel with the Vampire Lord. Y'all know me and my vampires. Below Zero I would burn because it was just like a silly, goofy novella by the author of The Love Hypothesis. It was basically the same story in a different setting with different characters, and that I feel like that's a trend for all of her books. If you go into them knowing that, then you'll have a fun time. It's nothing to write home about. It's nothing to rave about on social media, but gave Below Zero 3 stars. I thought it was cute. It was about these 2 scientists, and she goes on this trip to like Antarctica or something like that, somewhere cold. I enjoyed listening to the steamy scenes. Of course, she describes the guy as very large and muscular and whatever else. It's the typical Ali Hazelwood description for the male love interest, but nothing special. And she has so many other, what is it, feminist novellas is what it's called, I think. And then I still have to read Love on the Brain, so I have plenty of the same story available to me. So The Last Final Girl, I guess I would rewrite. I listened to this on audio. I gave it 2 stars, but I would rewrite it. I don't know how. So I enjoyed all the like the horror slasher references. I enjoyed the concept of it being like a movie script, like theoretically, ideally. I like that concept, but actually listening to it, I didn't really enjoy it, and I feel like if I read it physically, it wouldn't have made it any better. I think that writing style is just not for me. I am gonna be reading more Stephen Graham Jones. I own My Heart as a Chainsaw. The Only Good Indians has been on my TBR for years, so I will be giving this author another chance. I know he's phenomenal. This particular book was not for me. The narrator of the audiobook was awful too. Wasn't my thing. So the last book in this wrap-up is Monster Volume 3. I'm sorry, I cannot be bothered to go get it, but this is a thriller manga series that I'm doing a read-along with a bunch of people, and it was recommended to me by Bree from Locked Booktition as well as Ashley from Bookish Realm, and I'll tag everyone in the read-along down below, so follow them. They're all incredible people. We're supposed to read 2 of them a month, and I read Monster Volume 4 like on the 1st of November. So I read this one, and this was my favorite one of the series by far. I'm on the 5th one right now, so So yeah, I would reread this. I liked the third one a lot. It reminded me of Criminal Minds. It talked about like the psyche of serial killers and everything. This one was the most riveting for me of the series so far, but the whole series has so much packed into it in just like a few words on a page, you know? So I highly recommend it. I'm super excited to finish the rest of it. I'm gonna go get some steak now. If you made it to the end of this video, put the rabbit emoji in the comments down below to represent What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you've read any of these books, loved them, hated them, whatever, in the comments down below. Hope y'all had a great day. Stay safe, stay positive, and stay spooky always, and I'll see y'all in my next one. Bye. Oh, I forgot to do the kiss.